Well, tonight we've got everybody's favorite rifle, a Winchester 94. And this rifle is a pre-64. Now, what does that mean when it's a pre-64? You hear people talking about that. I've got a pre-64, I've got a post-64. Well, basically, in 1964, Winchester decided they had to save some money building this rifle. It was costing too much. They basically started in 1894 and things were just getting out of hand. So they had to do some modifications, to building the rifle. And what they did was they built the receiver out of a cast metal instead of machining it out of a solid block. This is a pre 64. The receiver is machined out of a solid block of steel. You can tell just looking at a pre 64 very quickly. These two screws are on an angle here on a pre 64. On a post 64, they're just up and down. Also on the underside, a post 64 will not have this screw here either. There are some other differences on the other side of the receiver, and the loading gate on a post 64 was made a lot cheaper and not have a solid block of steel and machined. And also the shell lifter, they put in in the beginning they put in a sheet metal shell lifter, which they later revamped. The later guns worked a little better, but they had trouble in the 70s, a horrible time getting bluing to stick to the receivers because it was like a cast metal. So the rifle got a really bad name because some of them looked really, really awful. And to the purists, collectors, it just didn't look good on Winchester. This rifle here is a carbine. It has a 20-inch barrel, and it's also a 1940 production gun. It's all original except for the rear sight. That's been changed at one point. I'm not sure when. It wasn't when I owned the gun. On the early guns in 1940 compared to 1950, the rear tang was stamped Winchester, and they were drilled for like a Lyman or a marble sight. And also on the left side of the receiver, they weren't drilled for a Williams peep sight like in the 50s. They started drilling them back there. This is an early enough gun that it's still marked 30 Winchester center fire and not 30-30. Now, the interesting thing about this gun is that in 1940, it went over to Britain, and it was used over there. I'm not really sure to what the role was. But upon export in 1950, around 1950, it was stamped at Enfield. You can see on the right side, left side there, you can see all the stampings. And it's got stampings on the receiver, not English made. So it definitely was over to England, and I don't think it was for hunting in 1940. I think they were put to use for something other than that. It's kind of cool that it did have some kind of a roll over there and has the English stampings on it. And the fact that it was cordite powder, 170 grain bullet, it had 2.05 length for the bullet, and kind of cool. But I thought you guys would get a charge out of looking at it and let me know what you think about it. It's a pretty nice old gun. I don't think I'll ever part with it. Thanks for looking.